Warning, absolutely everything I'm about to talk about is beyond sickening, disgusting, and vile to its very core. Okay, I'm done selling you the movie. Let's jump in!
Was meinen Sie? Denken Sie, Sie haben eine Chance zu gewinnen? Sie sind doch auf Ihrer Seite, oder? Also, auf wen setzen Sie?
You know what I really appreciate about art? The medium, not the clown. Just to be clear. The thing I love about artistic expression is taking people who are not you, subjecting them to your inner world, and then seeing if they can hang. No matter the genre or format, it's always interesting to see how your work resonates with an audience. Any audience. Horror, for example, is fun because of the loss of control you feel in a safe environment. It gives you a way to safely explore terror. It's often gruesome and grotesque, but it's not real. That's why I'm rarely offended by art in and of itself. If I feel uncomfortable during an experience of watching a movie, I like to analyze why that might be. It is a sign of effective filmmaking, and this is why I've really come to appreciate the focus of today's video, the movie Funny Games. A movie that, in my opinion, is simply the result of the director saying to his audience, "Welcome to my world. Think you can hang?" Before we continue, consider smashing that subscribe button if your taste in movies runs as black as mine. And possibly a like if you want to egg me on to keep watching this. Funny Games, written and directed by Michael Haneke, is at its core an exercise in futility. It takes you on a dark, hopeless journey in which you as an audience are constantly asking yourself, what would I do in this scenario? Is escape even possible? Why are these f***ing morons letting these funny dressed goons play all these silly games with them? And that's an interesting way to tell a story. You'll probably think to yourself several times throughout the runtime, what is wrong with these f***ing idiots? Why don't they escape? That hopeless feeling of not being in control while watching this family consistently miss the boat of escape is a tense experience. Hell, by the end of this movie, the director is actively mocking the notion of escape, shoving the futility of it all in your face with a shit-eating grin. And since you're not in control here, you're subjected to the whims of Haneke and his self-admitted funny games. The plot is actually quite simple. A family goes out to a countryside home for a summer vacation and is eventually greeted by two strangely dressed goons who request a few eggs to help with their cooking. These goons intentionally act as annoying as possible throughout each step of this process. They drop the eggs, they request more. Then they break those replacement eggs and request even more eggs. You as an audience will be thinking the exact same thing as the family in these moments. What the f*** is wrong with these goobers? The family begins to express their annoyance with the clumsiness of the villains in a much more obvious manner, clearly communicating their irritation with this situation. So, the villains, having no more patience for a lack of patience, takes the family hostage. They accomplish this feat by breaking the leg of the husband with a golf club and using his immobility as leverage for the other members of the family to stay put. Then the captors begin playing games with them, games designed to see how far they're willing to go in order to be set free. This is where the movie earns its title. Each game that the family is forced to go through is an exercise in futility, not just for them, but for the audience as well. It's goddamn infuriating to watch them fail time and again to outwit their captors, putting the audience in the same mindset that I had when I was watching the film.
Are you f***ing kidding me? Right there, the door is right there. Oh, the golf club, grab the f***ing golf club, it's right there. Hit them in the face with it. Oh my god, kick him in the dick. Just kick him in the dick. That's it, I give up. You all deserve to die. You all deserve to die!
Repeatedly throughout the runtime, Paul, one of the captors, gives the camera little winks and smirks. As we play these sick, twisted little games, the director is showing us how funny he thinks this all is. It's pointless. It's macabre. But here you are, still watching it. What does that say about you, viewer? Why are you here for all this depravity? The director consistently reminds you that you are complicit in art like this existing. It wouldn't be out there if there wasn't a market for this shit, and he reminds you that you are kind of the problem in a way when you're watching films like this. The only game that made me really uncomfortable was the one where the wife is forced to undress for her captors as they assess if she has any, quote, jelly rolls. I've always hated scenes like this. They did the same thing in the movie The Devil's Rejects, and it's one of the few scenes in that movie that I just can't stomach. Horror that relies on violating the consent of women is one of the few categories that really icks me out. In this search to make the audience squirm, it is willing to go places that few other movies will, to show the consequences of failure. The movie really takes a fuck these kids turn as the son escapes for a few brief minutes of runtime until he is forced to return to the house and is blown the fuck away with a shotgun. The way the director chills on this shot for a good long minute is truly a thing of wonder, forcing the audience to revel in the horror of the scene. I remember watching this part where the mother is sprawled out on the floor staring at the bloody mess in morbid silence and thinking,
"That's a dead kid."
So yeah, they really show how terrible and depraved the duo who has taken them captive truly is. They're ready to straight up murder a child, just to show they mean business. And it really is a moment of shock and awe, a movie moment that really made me uncomfortable. This family is not immortal, and the director is now taking no prisoners here. He's going for public executions. This f them kids moment shifts the tone of the movie entirely. From that moment on, you're filled with the dread that any of the remaining family members could be offed at any moment. This leads you to truly root for their escape, to beat their captors, and the funny games they're being subjected to. And there are so many times where they get so close. They even make it off the property for a short while, having made it away from the house they were captive in for so long. And they still end up getting captured as they return to their not so peaceful little cottage. It's absolutely infuriating. The two captors actually have several meta conversations throughout the runtime about why each element of the plot to the movie is important. You need to have the belief, for example, that escape is possible in order to root for the protagonist. And you can't kill the kid right away, because that leaves nothing left to fear. You've already lost the most tragic member of the family. Haneke really can't help but inject his thoughts and feelings on tropes of the movies, and he uses these characters as vehicles to explore these thoughts. Near the end of the runtime of the movie, the mother actually pulls off a surprising move. She's able to get her hands on the shotgun that killed her son and blows one of these goons to hell and back. It's the first time in the movie that the family does what the audience so desperately wishes that they had done from minute one: stand up for themselves. But this is where the director shows you his intentions as clear as day. As the remaining goon sees his fallen friend on the floor with a gunshot wound in his chest, he yells, "Where's the remote?" and searches the room for a TV remote. When he presses a button on it, the film freezes. Then, after you've no doubt asked yourself, what's going on? The film begins to play in reverse like a VHS tape being rewound. This stops once the film is rewound past the killing of his accomplice, placing us right back into the same position of hopelessness we've been in the whole movie. This time, when the mother tries to grab the rifle, the villain seems to already know what she's about to do and snatches it away from her. Then he kills the husband with it and takes the wife out to the lake to drown her. The captors move on to another house, asking for eggs once again. Then, as the movie ends, the villain stares right into the lens and the shot freezes on his smiling face while grimy punk music blasts. And then the credits roll, as if the director is staring at you, the audience, dead in the eye after giving you a glimmer of hope and taking it away, smirking at you while saying, "Wasn't that a funny game?" This movie made me realize the horror of futility. It's scary enough to deal with the unknown, the bizarre, the horrific, or the depraved. But what's truly terrifying is the idea that you're not in control, and that no matter what you do, you'll still end up in the same place. A place where hope is non-existent, and no amount of fighting will result in your freedom. No one likes the idea of being deprived agency, and yet that's exactly what this movie is at the end of the day. So that's why the movie illustrates something crucial, that you are not steering the ship in cinema. The director is. And if he chooses to abuse that, you are in for a frustrating and in all likelihood, terrifying time. That's the brilliance of funny games. So my hat goes off to Haneke. He's produced a film in which fear is built through the good old-fashioned sense of frustration. It's a subject I hadn't even really thought about when assessing horror tropes, but I have to say, it's goddamn effective. Well played, sir. And by the way, thank you for having the passion and dedication to making your vision accessible to all by making a version of this movie in English. But I have to tell you, it wasn't necessary. This film is fine with subtitles. Anyway, that does it for this week's episode of Rockin' Horror Picture Show, Funny Games. Let me know what you thought about Funny Games in the comments below. I'm your host, Sleeve T, and as always, I'm doing just fine. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Sleeve T, and hopefully you appreciated that video. This is a brand new channel, and TikTok is doing everything that it can to make sure that you do not see the content I'm putting out. So if you want to check that out, it's in the description. Also, I do have a Patreon with uncensored episodes. If you want to support my work, check that out in the description as well. I'll add you to the credits at the end of every episode. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Rock and roll.